Hi there, welcome to Chapter 7, where we will discuss sexual response according to the Masters and Johnson's model, which was developed in a sex lab. You may have caught the show Masters and Johnson, or maybe it's, yeah, I think it is Masters and Johnson, on Showtime. I started watching it. Wasn't that interesting to me, but might be interesting to you. Before we begin, though, I think it's interesting to point out a couple of things about orgasm. So many times people have questions about orgasm. They're not sure if they've had one. What does it feel like? Particularly adolescents. They're not sure what to expect. Interestingly enough, when you record how people describe an orgasm, you can't tell the difference between males and females, because the way that they describe it is the same. Let me give you some examples. I'll read a couple of scripts, and then I'll indicate to you which gender used it or reported it. There is a warm ache that builds until the moment of orgasm. At orgasm, there's a feeling of tension being released in the genitals and a physical loosening of muscle tension throughout the body. Strong, pulsing muscle contraction may occur in the genitals at climax. So there's one. 2. My body flushes red and gets warm, and when it hits, the internal muscles spasm. It feels like electrical pulses, and I can only describe it as a pinging sensation. Okay, and then 3. Mostly an orgasm feels like a huge release of built-up potential, resulting in the total relaxation of the body and a feeling of peace. The actual orgasm feels like your body is contracting almost every muscle in your body. So the first 2 were written by females, and the last one was written by a male. It's just interesting that both males and females use the same kind of language to describe the experience. So as I indicated, we're going to go over the 4-phase Masters and Johnson's model. We'll start with excitement. And so during the excitement phase, vasocongestion occurs, and this is when blood rushes to the genitals and the nipples for both sexes. It causes the clitoris to swell and elongate, nipples to become erect, and an erection to occur in the penis. And then also within the vagina, Transudate is plasma fluid that lubricates the vagina. This begins within 20 to 30 seconds of stimulation. So surprisingly, women do become turned on as quickly as men, according to the research. But it's this myth that women need a lot longer to get ready, oftentimes because they are dealing with more stress with the caregiving role in the family and need time to relax and get into it. The amount of lubrication does not indicate a woman's psychological readiness for penetration. Very important point. The body will respond to stimulation. That doesn't mean that a woman is ready to go. She has to be ready mentally as well. Myotonia refer to the voluntary and involuntary muscle contractions that occur all over the body during excitement. And that is happens in both sexes. Here's just a diagram of what's going on in the female body during the excitement phase. The size of the breast actually increases a little bit, not enough that you would say, whoa, they're much bigger now, but it does happen. And you'll see also that, like the penis, the clitoris elongates and swells. Both the clitoris and the penis are made of the same material, as you know, when babies are being formed or during the fetal development. So it's not surprising that they both become erect during excitement. And then in the male body, what's happening, basically the penis is becoming erect, completely erect. The urethral opening opens up a little bit more. The scrotal skin thickens and tightens up, pulls closer to the body. So that's excitement. The second stage is plateau. And this stage or phase is just a sustained sexual arousal. How long it lasts depends. It can be seconds, minutes, or even longer. Critics have criticized the model because this phase is hard to distinguish. There's no clear sign of the plateau phase. During this phase, the sex flush is pronounced. Carpopedal spasms occur, which are spasms that cause the hands and feet to become claw-like. Pelvic thrusting becomes involuntary, so it's not something that people have control over during this phase. And then the female orgasmic platform, the vagina and the clitoris, they actually prepare for orgasm. And so they open up and tent out a little bit wider. You can read more about that in your textbook. And so also the pulse rate, blood pressure, breathing continues to rise. And actually it can be made, if it's made to last longer, if it's a phase that can be drawn out, this is reported to be a major enjoyment in lovemaking for couples. The sex flush, just to remind you of what that is, most women experience it and some men. It's kind of a rash, red-like discoloration that spreads from the center of the chest out to the breasts and upper chest, neck, and face. So it's just a red flush. And then the orgasmic platform, so like I indicated before, the vagina becomes engorged, causing a narrowing of the outer third of the vagina, and the inner two-thirds expand in width and depth. So they refer to this as ballooning out. The uterus becomes fully elevated or tented. And surprisingly, the clitoris pulls up or retracts under the hood as it becomes fully erect. So it's not as visible, but it is fully erect. And then again, just some diagrams of what's happening, the female's body. And so during the orgasmic platform, the labia majora and the labia minora appear to increase in size. For males, there's not a whole lot of differences going on. Testicles become even further engorged and elevated, and the scrotal skin is still thick and tight. And there could be some pre-secretion of fluids. That's something that lots of couples may not be aware of. It's not just during the actual act of intercourse that you have to worry about fluid seeping into the vagina and causing pregnancy, or even as sexually transmitted infections, but also during the excitement and plateau phase. Then comes the orgasmic phase, and this is technically described as a sudden discharge of neuromuscular tensions accumulated from intense pelvis vasocongestion and skeletal myotonia. And so these, in layman's terms, involuntary and pleasurable contractions that occur. Typically the shortest phase, but it does on average last longer in women. Almost everybody will describe it as some type of an intense experience that is highly pleasurable. It really is difficult to just summarize for each person, but they will most often say some type of experience of pleasure and a release of some sort. During the orgasmic phase, this is often accompanied by an increase in blood pressure, referred to as hypertension, and rapid deep breathing, which is referred to as hyperventilation. The skeletal myotonia, so the hands and feet that were contracting and grasping, continues. The facial expressions can change. It can be a frown, it can be a scowl, a grimace. Mouth could be open. How someone's face looks during orgasm varies by individual. Sometimes there are severe spastic contractions of the arms, the legs, the back, and even their lower abdomen. And sometimes those contractions can cause an aching that is felt in the body the next day. And then that sex flush that occurs in 75% of women and some men peaks. This is just a little bit more information about orgasm. I'll let you guys read that. And I think it's interesting that women can actually experience an orgasm without direct stimulation to the clitoris or the vagina. So that's surprising to see, a little secret power that women possess. Anorgasmia refers to somebody that's never experienced an orgasm. It refers to a sexual dysfunction of some sort, not just because somebody's not turned on in some way. We'll go into this more when we talk about sexual dysfunctions. Okay, then the final phase is resolution. And basically what's happening is the body is returning to its unaroused state. So the muscle tension disappears. People can begin sweating. The breathing slows down. The heart rate slows down. The sex flush is lost. The contractions are gone. And all body parts return to their pre-aroused size. So with men, erection is lost. With women, the clitoris returns to its normal size and the breast tissue is no longer swollen. And there actually is a period of time referred to as a refractory period during which men can't be aroused again. It's just not physically possible. How long that is varies by man, by individual, which is also affected by age, by mood, and the type of stimulation that's going on. So typically men in their late 30s can't be stimulated to have an erection again until at least 30 minutes have passed, and that time period tends to maintain and get longer as men age. Sorry, that was the female breasts. This is males. And individuals vary in how they react to the resolution phase. So many might say they feel really relaxed. In fact, a lot of people use masturbation, just like we talked about with children, as a way to relieve stress or a way to relax themselves. Adults do the same thing. Sometimes research shows that masturbation to orgasm does actually help people sleep or become more relaxed or rest. Others sometimes report they're energized, and a lot of that has to do with their sexual partner and the relationship between the two. Some people want solitude. They want to curl up and be by themselves. Others want to talk and be close. And some may eat, drink, or want to smoke a cigarette. Really, that isn't a myth. It really happens. It just depends on the individual. For both males and females, this is sometimes referred to as an afterglow, just that feeling of euphoria and relaxation. Helen Kaplan also came up with a model, the triphasic model, and the major difference between hers and Masters and Johnson is that there is no plateau stage. And so Kaplan argued that it's hard to distinguish, and so that it's not really a part of sexual response as it's just kind of an extension of the sexual desire. Excitement. And then also Helen Kaplan added she also got rid of the resolution phase too, because that's a way, it's not part of sexual response. She said it's the body's reaction after sexual response. And she added desire and said that it's a crucial aspect of sexual arousal because if you are not turned on, then sexual response will not occur. But there are people that argue with that and say the body responds regardless to desire. Mainly, this model is useful Kaplan's model is useful for identifying and treating problems with couples and with individuals when it comes to sex.